And that's the thing that Israel needs to understand. Like, we like watching all these, like, Power. You like
Bring it
watching
out.
Empire and all these shows. You'll focus on that, but you'll put the Bible to the side.
Right.
When a lot of the stories that they show
It
out of the
comes
Bible.
straight from
You
this.
see all that. You see a son going against the father.
Yep.
Father going against the son. You see all that stuff. That's how you know we the Israelites. The Bible speaks of.
That's right, most definitely. You look at Godfather and all those stories. It comes straight from here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's jump to the next chapter, 2 Samuel chapter 15. We're gonna read verse 1 through 11.
2 Samuel chapter 15, verse 1. And it came to pass after this that Absalom prepared him chariots and horses and 50 men to run before him.
Read.
And Absalom rose up early and stood beside the way of the gate. And it was so that when any man that had controversy came to the king for judgment, that Absalom called unto him and said, Of what city art thou? And he said, Thy servant is of one of the tribes of Israel.
Okay, so now look at the tactics once again. Okay, so he put himself in the midst of everyone, in the midst of everyone else. He wakes up early in the morning, stands at the front of the gate in the front of the city, and if anyone has an issue, if anyone has a complaint, if anyone has something that's going on with them, he hears the issue. Mm-hmm. Okay? He gets close to him. He builds a relationship with them. All right. And he asks, what city you from? All right. So he postures himself as a good guy, right, even though secretly within him, there's that hatred there. Read.
Verse 3. And Absalom said unto him, See, thy matters are good and right, but there is no man depute of the king to hear thee.
So he hears the complaint. He says, look, I hear what you're saying, and your complaints are very valid. I understand what you're saying, brother. I understand what you're saying, sister. But the problem is there's nobody that's assigned, to actually deal with the issue that you have. Read. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, brothers and sisters do that to this day.
Right now, bro. Right now.
Y'all got to see these things, Israel. Brothers and sisters will do that to this day.
Yes.
You thinking that they really care about you, but they got ulterior motives into why they're doing that.
For sure. Absolutely. Read on.
Verse 4. Absalom said, moreover, Oh, that I were made judge in the land, that every man which have any suit or cause might come unto me, and I would do him justice.
So if only I were a judge, though. If only I was a leader, I would make sure people's matters were heard. Yep. I would make sure people would get the judgment that they deserve. Read.
Verse 5. And it was so that when any man came nigh to him to do him obeisance, he put forth his hand and took him and kissed him.
So when any man came to give him respect, to maybe like salute him or something like that, right? Absalom would be the first to put forth his hand. He would kiss the other man, showing that humility, all right, gaining that popularity amongst the people, all right. So Absalom was very charismatic outwardly. All right, that's one of his characteristics, but inwardly he was very crafty, and he operated under his own secret mission to first undermine his father, the king, and then obtain the kingdom as his own. All right, read on.
And on this manner did Absalom to all Israel that came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel.
So he did this to everyone that came to the city for judgment. So he stole the hearts of the people from David. He got them on his side because outwardly he looked as if he was someone who was for the king. Mm-hmm. But secretly he was trying to take them away from the king so he could have a team to himself. All right, read on.
And it came to pass after 40 years that Absalom said unto the king, I pray thee, let me go and pay my vow, which I have vowed unto the Lord in Hebron.
So this man did this thing for 40 years. That's how serious he was about his secret mission. Now, once again, you gotta analyze that in terms of the friends and the people that you have in your circle, right? You gotta understand that some people are in this thing for the long haul, in terms of carrying out their secret mission. Mm-hmm. All right. So you got to understand that it might not just be that, okay, in a year or two, now you see the secret plot.
Right.
It could be years. All right. Read on.
Verse 8. For thy servant vowed a vow while I abode at Geshur in Syria, saying, If the Lord shall bring me again indeed to Jerusalem, then I will serve the Lord.
Read.
And the king said unto him, Go in peace. So he arose and went to Hebron. But Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, As soon as ye hear the sound of the trumpet, then ye shall say, Absalom reigneth in Hebron.
So Absalom's plot was to become the king. So what he said was, look, when you hear the sound of the trumpet and I'm in Hebron, everybody say, hey, look, hey, Absalom's the king. Man, read on.
And when Absalom went, 200 men out of Jerusalem that were called, and they went in their simplicity, and they knew not anything.
So 200 men went out to Jerusalem and followed exactly what Absalom said. And they did it in their simplicity. They were simple. All right. So you got to be careful who you follow and who you attach yourself to, because you could end up being one of those simple ones, just like those 200 men. Because like I said, they were following him blindly. They didn't fact check to say, hold up, is this what really should be happening? Let me check with the king. Let me check with some of his advisors to just make sure. They didn't do none of that. Right. They just said, okay, well, I guess this is what it is, so let me just follow.
And the reason why they're simple as well, because you got to think this is a kingdom. Yes. Let's not be foolish, Israel, to think that back then they rolled in the capacity that we rolled in, where you just got a kingdom and ain't nothing established. Right. You got order and structure established. Yes. So for them to be like, they got to think like, why is Absalom now interceding in what's going on before? Right. Because they allowed his words. Oh, yeah, see, there's nobody to look for your matters. They had somebody to look for their matters. Yes. But he was just telling them what they wanted to hear, stroking their ego. So it's like, okay, so that's what happened now. Yep. Brothers just sit up amongst you. Oh, there's nobody to hear your matters, when really there is. Yep. They stroke your ego a little bit, and then before you know it, when the time is right, let's bounce, y'all.
That's it. That's it. You know, and that's why it's just so important to examine yourself, right? Examine the spirit that you have on yourself, and then examine the people that are around you in your circle. All right? Because this is the thing. Everybody wants to be David. Everybody wants to be Moses. Everybody wants to be Paul in the spirit. You know what I mean? But nobody, but at the end of the day, nobody wants to make sure they don't have that Absalom spirit. Make sure they don't have the Nabal spirit, the Judah spirit on them, you know? But, you know, just because somebody is likable, or, you know, or they're entertaining or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that they have the right spirit on them.
And then there's those no-name spirits where you just fall into 200 men.
Yeah, exactly.
You one of these 200 men. You ain't got no name written in the Bible, but it describes 200 people that were simple and followed them. Don't be that.
Exactly. Go ahead.
It's a couple of things that you just brought out there through that scripture that I really want to call out and make sure that we pay close attention to. And you already did it a little bit, but I just want to push it a little bit more.
Go ahead.
Okay. So you have a person who will sit up and intercede and say, I'm going to act on behalf of the leadership, if you will, to be the one to hear your matters, because they don't want to hear it. Or there's no one set up to hear it. But what that does in that passive aggressiveness that we're speaking is it shows that I'm trying to make a strategic attack on what is already set up. Yes. And since I can't outwardly defeat you, I'll do it sneakily. Is that a word, sneakily? Covertly. Thank you. So I like the word sneakily. I think y'all should add that to the dictionary.
Put it on a t-shirt.
But that's a very strong tactic, and that communicates a lot. That communicates what kind of person that you really are. That communicates, and when you see that type of person, you got to take note of that. That's the kind of moves that they make, and it's going to happen over and over again in their lives. Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side, you got the people who fell for it, the simple people, who were sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, there is no one to hear my matter." Now, be mindful. It's a king. It's a whole kingship set up. This is not just some little small organization that, you know, don't really have anybody with experience in position or doesn't have enough team behind them. No, this is a whole kingdom with full order and structure set up. But one of the greatest kings that we have notable in our Bible. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we don't have anyone to hear our matter. That's showing you exactly what kind of person that is. Because that's a person who got something to say but ain't willing to say it. Right. If you really felt that way, then why didn't you go and explain it and bring it forth, and maybe it could be addressed if it was necessary to be addressed. But what I find in common time is a lot of times there's nothing to be addressed. You don't actually have anything to say. You're looking for an out, but you don't have what it takes to stand up and say those things in front of somebody. So you're looking for someone to give you a way out, looking for someone that you can ride behind and say, see, yeah, we are in the same agreement. You've been in that thought process for a while, but weren't strong enough to say it. So now someone else is, even in their passive aggressiveness, they're stronger than you are in being able to say what they have to say. So these are the kind of people that we read about in that biblical time, but we see them right here in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who are really going to listen to what you're saying, if they're going to take heed to it, you got to ask yourself, am I one of these people? Did I do that because I fit into the 200 or because I'm an Absalom type spirit? Which one am I?
That's on point for sure. I appreciate you for, commenting on that thing, because that's the truth. You have to analyze those things. Who are you within the scripture? Are you a brother or sister that will do the research and will ask certain questions to make sure that you're operating in order and the right capacity, or are you one of these 200? Are you one of the simple people who just follow blindly, or like you said, are looking for that way out? Because that is what happens sometimes. You're disgruntled in a certain way, but you just don't have the wherewithal or the cojones, let me just say, to bring it out. So now you look for somebody else that has a little bit more power than you, a little bit more influence than you, and then now all of a sudden, now I'm riding with them. This is my way out.
And one thing I wonder, right? Again, like we said, this was a kingdom that was established and order was set up. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's some people that wasn't talked about that understood that, no, Absalom ain't supposed to be interceding like he interceded.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? There's already structure set up. Why are y'all going to Absalom?
Right.
So, again, it's focusing on those people that, yeah, I see Absalom stroking egos.
Right.
I may have had a problem with what the king is doing, so cool, yeah, I'm gonna let Absalom do this thing for 40 years. Mm-hmm. So you just got to see those little things in the scriptures. And
most definitely, man.
Question.
And I'm glad you said that, because not only that, is once again, as it's been brought up a couple of times in this conversation, this is a kingdom. You know what I'm saying? This isn't just a small organization where, maybe things are not established the way you would like for them to be. This is a whole kingdom right here, mm-hmm. Right? And the thing is that these people knew what Absalom did prior to this. They knew he had killed his brother. They knew he wasn't on anything good at the time. They knew he was cast out by the king, right? But yet and still, they still said, you know what, I'm gonna follow him. So that shows what spirit they were already in from the jump. Okay, so that's just something y'all got to think about. But I just want you to realize how passive aggressive this man was, though. At the end of the day, he secretly had hatred for his father. He plotted to take the kingdom from him, and he did so by putting on the appearance that he actually cared for the people. All right, and not only that, he posed himself as being compassionate to the people and having concern for the people. Not only that, he hinted that his father wasn't even paying attention to the people. That's how passive aggressive he was. He did all of that to take the kingdom from his father. All right. So, all in all, being passive aggressive, that's actually more dangerous than somebody that's openly aggressive, right? Because you don't see the attack coming. Right. But you got to look at the scriptures as we're looking at them to analyze what type of spirit that is, so you can see it before it actually happens.
And Absalom was sly, because remember what he told Joab?
Mm-hmm.
If there's any sin,
right,
kill me.
And then he humbled himself.
Knew what he was finna do. I'm finna do something so sneaky and sly.
Not even gonna see it for 40 years, man. That's crazy. And that's a part of that negative side that we have, like we've been saying. This is something that happens modern day. This is not just something that happened in the Bible. We can look right now and say, that's that spirit. All right?
Everything written aforetime was written for our learning.
For our learning.
That we through pages of the scriptures might have hope. Meaning, if we seeing these things through David's time, it's coming back around again. Otherwise, we wouldn't need it to be written down.
Right.
So be on the lookout.
Exactly. There's some Absalom spirits out there. All right. There's some Nabal spirits out there. There's some Judah spirits out there, like I said. You know? All right.
And that's the last thing. And that's
Go
the
ahead.
heavy test because, remember, we got the fringes, we got the Sabbath, we got all these things. But again, were you able to be aware of that Absalom spirit? Right. Will you be able to be aware of all these different things? Everything written aforetime was written for our learning. The test is coming back around. We got to open the book, study the whole thing, and apply it as it comes in our life.
Absolutely. And think about, like you said, in terms of judgment, think about those 200 that followed him. Everything we just brought up, knowing what Absalom did prior to this particular moment, not asking questions, not inquiring, understanding that there was a structure, but believing that there wasn't based off what Absalom said, falling for his trickery, right? All of that. Imagine what type of judgment those type of people are going to get. All right. So you could be one of those. So you gotta make sure that you on the right side of things. All right.